The Texas Chainsaw Massacre game is mostly influenced on the perks people bring into their games, some being meta and some being very questionable to even bring and pick in the first place. With also some perks being fully neglected by the community because of their existence and how they function. When most people stick to their metas and of course swap to a build once in a while, I decided to do a fun challenge a while ago that I just finished in end August. I started doing this challenge in May, and let me tell you one thing, time was not my ally. But this challenge involved leveling up every single perk to level 3 on every single family member. A perk challenge I have yet to do on Victim, which I'm half excited and not excited to do, but here we are. Using all family perks a couple of times to get them to level 3 has definitely changed my opinion on some of them hinged on their description of how they work, while other perks still remain the same like the community always taught them to be. Hence, since I'm done with this challenge, I wanted to do a ultimate family perk tier list. I have 2 rules set for myself and the perk tier list in order to rank each individual perk. First of all, the perks are not going to be influenced on what character they are used. Yes, I am pretty much aware that some perks work better on certain characters compared to others. Universal Donor being a good one, comparing it to it being better on, for example, Nancy than Leatherface. The second rule is that I only base the perks on their soloness. No builds, no extra perks boosting them, just the perk itself, how well it can do on its own. There are some good combos like maybe easily tuckered out, for example, with hysterical strength, but we're gonna be separating the perk, their synergy together, and just base them on themselves. And of course, I'm gonna add a third rule. This list is entirely based on my opinions. If you have an opinion, please share it in the comments. I like to read them nowadays, but keep it civil, because I wouldn't really like to see people fight over simple pixels being put in a different category according to their opinions. Just keep it civil, it's all I ask really. To save time for both myself during the editing progress and to make the video a little bit more durable to enjoy, instead of putting each perk individually in their selected row and giving an explanation why, I'll just be propping them in before showing them, and then I'll give a short elaboration why, and the probably good old Dingus Crusading way of saying, yeah, that perk sucks, that perk's good, yada yada yada. With that being said, let's start off with the lowest tier. The worst perks I've ever witnessed upon mankind. There's a total of 8 perks fitting this category to my fittings. With starring guests Sip Sip Sip, Slow and Steady, I forgot that perk's name, 2 Cycle Charge, Insulated, I Smell Blood, Patience, and Hurt 'em. Sip 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 being at the top makes sense of course because of what's coming next. This is the only perk that punishes you for leveling it up. For those unfamiliar with Sip Sip Sip, this is basically Surgical's long lost twin brother from Temu. And it does increase the amount of blood you get from hitting people at the cost of some damage reduction. But the topping comes with the cake, but not for this one. This perk keeps lowering your damage each time you level it up, essentially punishing you for it. Now yes, you do get more blood from it, but why the fuck would you even use this perk? A lot about Slow and Steady doesn't need to be said because this perk is just dogshit horrendous. And then we have the third perk, which I still don't know the name of. I'm very sorry, little guy, but you are very shit. Even if the rush meta did not exist, you're still gonna be dogshit regardless. This perk reduces the amount of stamina you lose when sprinting as long as Grandpa has not awoken yet. But since there's nobody to be chased, this perk literally doesn't give you any beneficial use. The fourth perk, 2 Cycle Charge, is a unique perk only exclusive to the Mighty Bubba. This perk increases your stamina regeneration when you're revving the chainsaw. Unfortunately, stamina has no use to Leatherface, considering his unlimited sprint when he has a chainsaw above his head. The fifth perk, aka Insulated, helps you recover your stun time when you get attacked by a booby-trapped lamp. With its neighbor from the right, I Smell Blood being probably one of the most useless perks to exist, this perk helps you find the last victim more easily by increasing the proximity yellow radius on your screen, but this only really helps when Grandpa is screaming, but you only get really value out of it when Grandpa is level 5, thus making it literally shit. Another unique perk from Johnny and his only unique perk, aka Patient. This perk reduces your ability depletion use when standing still. The guy that's supposed to track footprints and follow footprints gets oh god. Measuring by my disappointed, I don't need to elaborate more why this perk is literally dogshit and in the lowest tier. And then a unique Nancy perk, aka Hurt 'em. This perk increases the amount of damage a barbed wire does to a victim. And unfortunately, it's very depressing that this perk exists considering Nancy's barbed wire by default really tickle you like a mosquito. Alright, these were the bottom tier perks. Time to move to the next tier, aka It will never not be funny to rip on a cooperation that enforces child labor, hence why Temu garbage tier exists in the video. If you guessed the first unique perk is a Nancy perk, you are wrong. This is one of Cook's 2 unique perks, and this one is called Prey Drive. This perk, essentially, the moment you hear somebody with your mighty hearing, your stamina regeneration is increased for maximum 15 seconds. But since this is a Cook perk, and we know Cook isn't really the fastest runner anymore, if this was like pre-lore Cook or pre-TCM Cook, then maybe, but he has definitely grown senile in his older age. The perk next to it is called Historical Strength. Now, most people consider this a good perk, especially on Leatherface, but we're talking about the perk itself. Basically, this perk gives you a attack permission boost if your stamina is below 15%, which isn't really useful in my opinion. I think you should stick to victims and not go full stamina bar out, then do a stupid Ooga Booga dance before your stamina starts regenerating. The perk next to it, aka Punishment, increases the damage you do to a victim when you grab him out of a hiding spot. This perk is pretty useless considering nobody uses hiding spots anymore besides baby Sunnies, but yeah. If you guessed the unique perk to be a Hands perk, congratulations, because the perk icon really says itself, it's from Hands. It's also called Slow Hands. Basically, when a victim gets shocked by his trap, their interaction speed with gathering toolboxes or whatever, whether it's holding down the button or mashing the button, gets very slowly decreased. Unfortunately, Hands traps are probably one of the most easiest one to counter, so I consider this a bad poopy perk. Slowing the game down massively is definitely a huge W, but considering, as I said prior, it's, yeah, no avail. The purple perk literally spits in your face for losing a close encounter, because you gain your ability back for a certain amount of percentage if you lose the close encounter. That's definitely one way to tell the family member that they suck at grappling. Thank you, Gun. The white perk is another Hands perk. It's called Concussive Hit. If your stamina is above 50%, that means each hit becomes a concussion hit, but honestly, when you get touched by a concussive hit, whether it's from a Leland Barge or the, I don't know, they never fixes the Johnny hit, it doesn't really change the game that much in my opinion, so I'll just keep it down there. And another Hands perk joined the fray, aka Heart Attack. The moment a victim touches your electric trap like a Diddy, their bleed out meter gets increased, but it doesn't really do too much compared to a perk like Venom or Serrated, so yeah. And then our last perk, another Nancy perk, aka Give Me More. If you just have this perk without really using your ability regeneration is increased, but your stamina regeneration is decreased. It's kinda a eye for an eye situation. Wow, okay, we're almost halfway through. It's time to go to the next tier. Gen Z slander for average to a little bit poopy. To me, these perks are a little bit situational. Not all of them, but some of them definitely are. I wanted to start off with this unique Nancy perk, considering it's called Ding Dong, because it's a funny name to me. Essentially, when a victim gets barbed wired, the bell noise attached to the barbed wire, if you can even hear it in the first place, gets louder, and also the radius where the victim is, like the red dot thing when they're making noise, is also tremendously increased. But knowing how hard of a hit and miss Nancy or barbed wires can be sometimes, I keep it in the bit section. The orange perk next to it is called You'll Pay For That. Each time Grandpa gets stabbed, for 16 seconds total, the family member holding this perk, his damage or her damage gets increased. Now yes, as I said, this mid category is very situational, and of course you're not always gonna get value out of the perk, whether it activates or not, hence it's mid. Especially its neighbor, Rubber Boots, known to stop these annoying teabagging trolls at the exits by punishing them and making them look like the absolute clowns their parents couldn't make them to look like. Honestly, I would make this an S tier perk, but considering how bad exit designs sometimes are, and especially not all of them are electrified, it's unfortunately mid. I'm sorry. One of the most unknown unique perks next to Rubber Boots is Bloodlust. It's a Leatherface perk. Each time or the moment you gallows somebody, whether it's in the beginning or the end, your damage gets permanently increased till the match ends. Now, it's a situational perk. You're not always gonna get a gallow in the beginning, and as we know, gallows are very time stalling for victim or the other victims to give time to do something. So I definitely don't really suggest myself to use this perk on a normal occasion, and it also finds place in Leatherface's worst part of his skill tree. The purple perk, aka Rage, the moment you hit somebody with your weapon of choice, you gain some of your power ability back. Now, I wouldn't really call this useful, considering the characters that only have this perk, aka Cook and Johnny, don't really benefit from gaining their ability back mid-chase. Maybe Cook to snitch on the victim running, but Yeah, it's not there, I'm sorry.
The other purple perk, aka Dracula, should be base kit, considering the moment you win a close encounter, you gain a certain amount of percentage blood extra. I feel like the moment you win a close encounter with family, you should just get the full bucket instead of like half, but apparently this perk doesn't make it even better, not even granting you 100% of it, so fuck this perk, homie. Bloodrunner, the other purple perk, essentially reduces your stamina loss when sprinting when your blood bucket is over 50% full, or your blood vial better said. But I don't care about this perk, it sucks, it's a waste of a perk slot, lick my balls. Now, this perk should actually be listed as unique, but apparently it's not. But this is called Slippery, and it's only on Sissy. Basically, like the same victim perk it does, it gives you a momentary speed boost after exiting a crawl space or low gap. Unfortunately, you're not really something with this chase, in my opinion. You're just better off running Scout instead of Slippery. The green perk with the foot and the cloud is called Special Blend. It's a situation one. If you have Sissy, it's useful. If you don't have a Sissy, it's a waste of a perk slot. But basically, if you step into a Sissy's powder cloud as a family member, you gain 1 free poison attack. It's alright, I guess. The other perk to its right is Confusing Mechanic. If you activate the generator, or the perk holder activates the generator after it's been turned off by a other family member who is apparently low level or is griefing on purpose, or a victim who has managed to escape, the amount of time it takes for the generator to able to be destroyed again is increased. Its cooldown is basically increased, that's it. The unique perk from Nancy is called Pins and Needles. This basically starts a gamble addiction within you. You have a very small chance to keep your barbed wire after setting one, essentially giving you more barbed wires to set up that plays. Now, if you have extremely a lot of gambler's luck, then this perk is actually fucking broken. But as I said, we don't like gambling, we don't like percentage perks, so we're gonna keep that at an all-time mid. Alright, it's time to speed up the pace, because this is getting a little bit too slow for my liking. Let's go. If you get backstabbed by a victim, the backstabber gets highlighted. Get that snitch, little bitch. Easily tuckered out basically fucks up your stamina regeneration while also not fucking up your stamina loss when swinging your weapon. Battering Ram increases your hater for latch doors, making them easier to break. Rubber Legs slows down poisoned victims by a certain amount of percentage. Master Key basically gives you the ability to one-shot latch doors with ease, but apparently this is unique, but only Leatherface and Johnny have this, thus making it not unique. Get it? Rough Cut, the only perk that still cannot work even after mentioning to be fixed in one of the older patch notes. Good job, Gun. Orange perk with the door, aka Tenderizer, feels like beating No Nut November on hard difficulty. It's great when you get value, but it's also not great when it backfires. The white perk is called Not That Easy, basically making it harder to escape from barbed wires, increasing the tap minigame by 60%. Wow, very frightening. The purple perk, aka Fresh is Best, increases your blood gain by hitting survivors by 80% at level 3, which is quite a lot, but at the expense of losing value when you're gathering buckets. An eye for an eye, essentially, once again. The reason this is not higher, if you cannot find any victim, then this perk is essentially useless. At this point, an eye in a unique perk just trademarks its Nancy. This one is called Strong-Minded. After using her ability, your stamina depletion is reduced by 30 seconds maximum. And then the last perk of the mid category, aka Short Fuse, is a unique hands perk. The moment a victim triggers a trap, an electrical trap better said, they get highlighted, but this has no use considering you already hear a loud explosion from the other side of the map when this occurs. Alright amigos, as I said, we're gonna speed up this progress of perk rating because I'm getting tired and it's getting too long for my liking. Let's go. You know, I like using these perks. No matter the state of the match, I have no problem using any of them. The first perk is called Hurt Pride. Unfortunately, unlike an LGBTQ member, when you have a negative but very formal opinion about their community, their pride will always get hurt. But this perk, when you get stunned as a family member, whether it's because of a other family member or literally a victim, your stamina regain has been increased by 80%, which is quite a lot. It's basically fired up on steroids, kinda, a little bit. The next 3 perks are simple and very effective. These are the well-known attribute perks. We have Siphon, Unrelenting, and Feral, giving you 7 more attribute points to the selected category, depending on what perk you have. Getting fisted by big swings as a victim is always a nightmare, but using this perk as a family member is very satisfactory. At the cost of some more stamina when swinging a weapon, just up your endurance and this perk is no problemo. Activated, the orange perk next to big swings basically pisses off your family member when they get stunned, giving them a hell of a lot more damage give out for a certain amount of time.
Nancy is the queen of unique perks, considering she has so many, one of them being Hey Sissy. This perk helps the cooldown even more after digesting a poison at the poison table, but each time you use her ability, you gain blurry vision for about a certain amount of time depending on your perk level, but the blurry vision isn't really that bad, it just looks like your dad POV after drinking a little bit too much booze. Another Nancy perk to the right is called I'll Kill Maul. After using Nancy her ability, you gain damage boost for 30 seconds. Now, what you see to the right is not a Nancy perk this time, but another Sissy unique perk. It's called Efficient Herbalist. Each time you poison something, an item, whether it's a bone scrap, a toolbox, a healing item, whatever it is, there is a certain amount of percentage chance that your poison powder does not get consumed. It's very handy to deal with, or healing bottles. The green perk is called Wired. Each time a victim crawls over a barricade, they get highlighted for a certain amount of time, depending of course on once again the level of your perk. It's a very strong perk to flush out victims that try to be sneaky, and it's one of my favorite aura reading perks actually. A very surprising entrant from the perk Chicken Whisper. This perk basically makes it where chicken don't pock at you as a family member when you pass by them, giving you a very good chance to sneak upon unsuspecting victims that primarily work with audio cues and red visual cues. Blood Banker tremendously increases your blood capacity, which is great. And next to it, we have of course the very well-known Surgical, giving you more blood when you hit a victim without a downgrade cost or a extra attachment to the perk, unlike Down the Rabbit Hole is probably considered one of the most strongest aura reading perks ever. Each time a victim wells, they get highlighted for a certain amount of time, which is very strong to predict their next movement from where they're gonna come out of. It has definitely helped me catch a lot of victims off guard. The unique perk from Hans, aka Barrier Breaker, is sometimes a great attachment when your teammate doesn't have Bubba, knowing you're gonna go on a map with a lot of barricades. The well-known perk Serrated is known to make family player their toes curl when they know a victim is screaming, hoping that the timer will be enough to make him bleed out for that kill. Very satisfactory. Spore Loser makes it where Sissy farts when she loses a grapple, with the non-cost of a poison powder. So if you have a poison powder on hand, don't worry about losing it, cause Sissy just magically farts out poison at this point. One of my favorite perks to use, Violent, basically increasing your damage if you have a full blood vial. The unique perk comes from Hans, and it's unironically called Ripstalled. Basically, when Hans ripstalls something, that item that got ripstalled is unavailable to be interacted with by victims. Victims who know how to do the double fuse or valve tech know how much this can hurt them in the progress. The only unique perk by Nancy that got touched by the developers, which made the community go in uproar for some certain reason, it's called Wait a Second. Basically, not giving the victims the prompt to remove the barbed wire from their legs till a certain time is reached with the Barbie on their leg. The green perk, aka Dinner Bell, highlights victims that get trapped not only by hitchhiker traps, but Nancy's barbed wires, and also surprisingly Hans's electrical traps get affected by this. And then the last unique perk from Hans, aka Bruiser, it basically increases the damage you do when you barge a victim. It's funny and it's very satisfactory. Alright, we're finally there boys, the last straw. Stay with me, champ. Good job, soldier, you've made it to the final branch of set and perks that exist in this game. Let's get going and let's finish this. We got a cook unique perk called Security Pins, basically making it hard for victims to lockpick the door with the lock on. This is the strongest slowdown the victims can ever receive. Universal Donor is probably the best perk to exist when it comes to the blood harvesting category, considering it helps speed up gathering buckets, considering most of the times gathering bucket without its perk is just not worth it most of the times. The amount of blood you get extra with this is great, and it just helps you speed up the progress of feeding Grandpa if there's one victim still hiding. A unique perk from Sissy called Linger is probably one of the most broken perks ever to exist, especially on Family House, essentially making it a gas camp from 1945, unfortunately. Not only does the poison cloud stay longer, but it also increases its diagonal reach with 300%, which is, mathematically speaking, quite a lot. Nothing helps chasing victims better than Wireframe. Wireframe, both on Sissy and Hitchhiker, increases traversal speed through crawling gaps and small gaps by quite a lot, essentially helping you catch up easier and committing to the chase more efficiently. The well-befamed Scout really doesn't need a description, just giving you extra movement speed for the whole match, with regeneration of stamina being a little bit depleted, but it doesn't really affect you at all. Poison Claws, being a unique perk from Nancy, basically gives victim a poison impact on hit of the weapon. This perk can definitely give a launch player PTSD, considering Sissy was broken with this. Although Fired Up got nerfed, it's still as relentless as it was before it got nerfed, basically giving you 70% stamina regeneration speed, which is fucking busted, even after its nerf. The unique perk is called Venom and it's from Hitchhiker, basically like a young serrated, but instead of 5 seconds of bleeding out, it's 30 seconds when a victim steps into your trap, and trust me, that shit does not tickle, it fucking stinks. And the last perk, Tracker Tagged, helping you to keep up with the victim if they try some filthy mind games on you after hitting them with your default weapon hit. After editing this video over 3 hours, I've come to the conclusion that editing the video for victim perks is gonna be even worse, but I'm up for the challenge. Thank you so much for watching this video, but before I really shut off the video, I want to give an honorary mention to one perk that has unfortunately said goodbye to us.